Hey everybody, welcome back to the ECG of the day. My name is Reed, and don't forget that we've got down in the description a link to this PDF so that you can follow along and make your own notes, save them for later, share it with your buddies, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content. That'd be really helpful for getting this page out there. So let's get started. So we've got a fun, simple, pretty common ECG here. So let's look at the forest. The trees of the forest are my QRSs. I'll go to lead 2. See, I've got the narrow complex rhythm. It seems to be quite regular. No real changes to the speed, and you see it kind of stays the same throughout the entirety of the strip. It appears that I have some P waves in front of my QRSs. That's reassuring. And so let's calculate the rate here. I find a QRS that lands on a solid line, maybe this one right here. We see we've got a rate of 300, 150, 100, 75, 60, somewhere between 60 and 75. Maybe we'll say 65 beats per minute. So we've got a normal rhythm or rate here with some P waves in front. Let's evaluate this P waves. We're going to evaluate our atrial activity. Our P waves, you can see that they are upright in lead 1. They're upright in AVF, so these P waves appear to be coming from the sinus node. Remember, my sinus node sits high in the right atrium. And so when it depolarizes, it's going to depolarize down and to the left, which means it must be going towards that and towards that. And so we should have upright P's in those leads, and that helps us determine that, gives us more evidence that this is a sinus rhythm, right? It's all about mounting evidence. So a regular rhythm at a regular rate with good morphology can really say this is probably a sinus P wave. All right, so now let's talk about the AV node. It's the next thing to receive the signal, and that's our PR interval. And I can see here, if I go down to this V1, let's find this one kind of starts on a solid line. You can see my P wave starts maybe right about there. And that PR interval, it looks to be maybe, we'll say 7 small boxes. And so my PR interval is 7 small boxes. Each small box is 40 milliseconds. That is 280 milliseconds. So that is long. That's too long. Usually you want it to be within 200 milliseconds. So we've got a prolonged PR interval. So we have evidence of an AV block. Now we need to figure out what type of AV block is this, right? You can't just assume, oh, this is a first degree AV block, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see, does that PR interval, whenever we have a QRS, is it the same? Right, we have a P, QRS, they all appear to be about the same, 280 milliseconds. So I scan throughout the entirety of the strip. Something I also want to do is I want to look in between the QRSs for any evidence of P waves that are not conducted, right? Because what would happen if I saw a P wave here and then I saw a P wave here? Well, maybe this would be a 2-to-1 AV block. Luckily, I don't see that, right? So let's get us back on track. We definitely don't have that, right? But that's just a good reason why we need to look through here for any P waves that we're missing, right? Scan through other leads, right? We've got this T wave here. That's not a P wave. So look through. I don't see any, right? You can scan through all the leads. You can scan through V4, V2, right? Be thorough. Every lead is going to represent, these deflections differently, and so we need to take advantage of that. But I don't see any, and so every P wave has a QRS. It's just taking a little bit longer for the AV node to conduct that signal down. So what does that mean? That means this is a first degree AV block. So we have a first degree AV block. Now let's evaluate what happens when the AV node does conduct that signal further through the system, which is our QRS complex. Our QRS is narrow. It's less than 120 milliseconds. So we've got a narrow complex QRS, meaning it's happening rapidly, likely through the His-Purkinje system. We've got a QRS that is upright in lead 1. It is upright in AVF. That tells me that my QRS axis is somewhere down and to the left. That makes me happy. So we've got a normal QRS axis. We've got good R wave progression. See, we've got our little septal R here that's growing, and then we get nice transition here in V4, and then we have nice positive QRSs in V5, V6. Music to my ears. That's fantastic R wave progression. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to look for any of ischemic changes, chronic ischemic changes, right? After ischemia or infarction has occurred, we'll see pathological Q waves. I don't see any pathological Q waves that are really throughout any anatomical distribution. And then we can see any ST or T wave changes, ST elevations or ST depressions, and I don't see any, right? And so what am I going to kind of include with this rhythm? Well, what do we have? We've got a sinus rhythm. at a rate of 65 beats per minute with a first degree AV block. And so I thought this was a great ECG. It's simple, there's only one finding in this, and oftentimes you're not going to have any findings on an ECG. You're just going to have a normal sinus rhythm. And so, you're going to send that patient home. You need to be good enough to be able to do that with confidence. And so I find that, in medicine, a lot of people burn out because they're stressed out. They're at home, they're working in the ER, and they go home and they're like, man, I hope that 55-year-old female with atypical chest pain symptoms, that I didn't send her home and that she died of a heart attack later, right? How do we do that? Well, we get really confident. And so I just want to leave you guys with that message. Confidence and excellence will decrease your anxiety, right? So if any of y'all that are having anxiety out there about your jobs or being good at medicine, the best way to quench that is to continue to grind. And I'm glad that you're grinding here. I appreciate you guys watching these videos. I have a good time. I'm still learning. And give me your feedback in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.